Hey class, we're here for lesson 2 in module 5. We're going to continue our work with fractions, and to get that started, I'm going to review some of that terminology, some of that language that we're going to be using today. I'm going to do that kind of frequently this module because the language is really important. It's important in all math, but it's especially important with the fractions because a lot of it's new to you. So again, a fraction is a part of a whole. I got a little lag going here. It's a little hard to type, and that's happening. Fraction equals a part of a whole. A numerator, the most basic definition is the top part of the fraction. This is incredibly difficult to write because it's lagging way behind when I'm writing on my pad here. Part of a fraction. And the denominator is the bottom part. And we can give an example of that with like 1/6. The numerator is 1 and the denominator is 6. Denominator 6. And this is an example of a unit fraction. Because it is talking about the numerator being 1. So when we're talking about the numerator being 1, that's the unit fraction. And the last thing I want to review with you is what it means to partition. So partition is like to divide into sections. And whenever we're doing this, in order to work with fractions, they need to be equal sections. And that's a good transition into what we're about to do now. So let's switch our screen share here and take a look at the problem set for lesson 2. And the first part says circle the strips that are folded with to make equal parts. So let's look at these. Like that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts. They're all equal. So I would say, yeah, for sure. Let's circle that. Well, that was really light. Let's circle it darker. This one has like 2 little parts on the end and 2 big parts in the middle. These are not equal. It's split into 4 parts for sure. But if I colored in one section, I couldn't say that I've done 1 out of 4 equal parts. So we can't do that. Whenever we're doing fractions, we're saying like, I have 1 out of 2 equal parts, 1 out of 4 equal parts, or 3 out of 4 equal parts. So same thing here, like I have 3 parts, but I couldn't say that I have 1/3 or even 2/3 because they're not equal. So I can't circle that one. I can't make thirds out of that because they're not even. But this one, they are. See how the sections are all equal? So I could say 2/3. I could say I shaded 2/3 of that because I shaded 2 out of 3 equal parts. Oops, you can't see my fraction. I shaded 2 out of 3 equal parts. Remember, that's how we're going to read fractions sometimes, is 2 out of 3. That's a helpful way for a lot of 3rd graders to remember it. That line, when you see that line, you say out of. 2 out of 3. I shaded 2 out of 3 equal parts, so I can circle this. All right, now we move on to, they've shaded some parts for us, and we are going to say there are a certain number of parts in all, and then we're going to say how many are shaded. So there are 4 parts in all, 2 are shaded. They're not asking for this, but I could write it as 2/4. 2 shaded out of 4. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts in all, and 5 are shaded. So they're not asking for this. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but there are 6 that are shaded. 5 parts out of 6 are shaded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are now 7 equal parts, and 3 of those are shaded. So 3 out of 7 are shaded. 3/7 are shaded. And then the last one, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 equal parts again, and 0 are shaded. So 0 out of 7 are shaded. Those fractions on the side, those were not required, but it's a good habit to get into, good practice. So in writing fractions and understanding what they mean and putting this work together, which I think you're probably able to do quite easily with writing a fraction. So it's good practice to be in. So there are 7 parts in all, and 0 of them are shaded for that last one. This next part, talks about some things that we could do in class, but I'm just going to draw it without any tools here. So it says Noah, Pedro, and Sharon share a whole candy bar fairly. Fairly means evenly. So let's draw like a candy bar there. All right. Which of your fraction strips shows how they each get an equal part? So basically, if there are 3 people, how many parts of this candy bar do I need to have? I need to have 3. So they can each have 1 part and they all get the same amount. So I made it so that there's 3 parts, they're all equal. And that says label Sharon's fraction of the candy bar. So Sharon, and I would say she got 1 out of 3 even parts, 1/3 of the candy bar. Okay. To make his garage for his toy truck, Zeno bends rectangular piece of cardboard in half, then he bends each half in half again. Which of your fraction strips best matches this story? We don't have fraction strips for this right now, so we're not going to worry about that piece. We're going to say what fraction of the original cardboard is each part. So what I'm going to do is draw out this scenario. He has this piece of cardboard and he folds it in half right here. Okay. Then he takes this half and he folds it in half. And he takes this half and he folds it in half. So how many pieces does he end up with? He ends up with 4. So I know my denominator is 4. 4 total. There's 4 total pieces in one whole. One whole piece of cardboard is broken up into 4 different parts. And then it says what fraction is one of the parts? It's 1 out of 4, 1/4. It says Zeno bends a different piece of cardboard into thirds, and he bends each third in half again. So let's draw another piece of cardboard. He bends it in thirds. So I have, oh, you can't see, sorry. He has 3 pieces. He took his piece of cardboard, bends it in third. Then he's going to bend each third in half again. So he cuts that one in half, cuts that one in half, or bends it in half. He cuts that one in half. So now he has 6 total pieces. And he has, if I shade in 1, I'd have 1/6. That's the unit fraction for this, 1/6. So he took his original piece of cardboard, put it in 3 pieces, and then took each piece and bent it again in half, meaning he ends up with 6 pieces. So there we go. We're done with 2 days of fractions now, and we're going to keep going, working with understanding what the language of fractions, and also working on understanding what it means to have equal parts, and working to identify some fractions based on drawings and images where parts are shaded or things like that. So good job. Keep up the hard work, and please ask questions if you have them. I know that a lot of this is new to you, so let's slow down and talk about stuff if you have questions.